Deuce. I'm your host, A-Love. We are talking financial literacy. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to get in, and then we're going to talk about today's topic. While we wait, I did want to tell you thank you. The last video did really, really well. A lot of you were interested in how to divorce financially responsible, which apparently not a lot of people do. You have been watching the series, and they are meant to be watched repetitively over and over again. The whole series, utilize the playlist. I have not said that enough. Please utilize the playlist. And I think that you guys have been. You've been watching them in a row. You can, once you've seen them all in a row, you can kind of go back over the ones that you feel, or if you feel need to watch all of them, then watch all of them. That's perfectly fine. It's all great. And then also make sure you subscribe. We're getting close to our goal of 10,000, so we're doing really well with that. And especially for a new channel, it's pretty good. And then also make sure you like, because it helps us measure content. So we know that these are working because you guys are doing a lot of likes. So, so I'm going to give you some time to get in, and then we'll get started. Okay, guys, a few more minutes. Give you a minute or two. All right. Hello, Anna. I was waiting for you to come in. I knew you'd be here. All right, so this particular one is titled Rich Dream or Poor Dream. It's got a question mark at the end, and you're thinking to yourself, as you always do with my titles, okay, where are we going with that information? Well, it starts very simply. It was a question that I was asked about living your dream, and I had sort of an out-of-the-box answer, if you were, about that. And someone inquired more about that, and then there was more and more, and suddenly it became more of you needed more information rather than just a simple question. So I decided to do a whole one on this, because to understand living your dream, you have to understand that there's two different ways to go about it. And I wanted to start with that. So that's why I said rich dream or poor dream. You can, it is possible to follow your dream and never make a dime. Okay, it's very simple. I call them a hobby, but some people say, well, I own a business and, it's not really making me any money, but I'm happy. And it's like, if that's the route you're going, fine. But if you're watching these videos and you're interested in finance, so I have to take the financial approach. I am all happy for people that do things without profit. They're called nonprofits. Feel free to start one. But if you're looking to actually live your dream, which means it makes you money, right? You live off of it. It helps you financially so that you don't have to go back to doing whatever you don't want to be doing. You can just simply live doing that. So the secret to this is to understand, first of all, that there's two. There's a rich dream and there's a poor dream, right? Just like there's a rich mindset and there's a poor mindset, right? There's, a yin and a yang, as it were. It's the same thing with living your dream. People just assume because you enjoy it that there's no process, okay? There's a process. And so I'm going to lay that out for you a little bit and break down how to successfully make your dream profitable. Because this is finance, right? I have to relate everything to money, right? Okay, so I'm going to give you the top 5 ways. Now, these are designed to work together. And I'm going to show you a little bit how that works to let you know a little bit about how, if one is missing and why that's not working. I'm going to help you also analyze what you're doing now. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm trying to live my dream, and, it's just not, I think one of the questions last week was that it wasn't paying off for them financially. And I thought, well, then you're looking for to live your dream and to make it profitable. So that's the difference between I just want to live it. Okay, so number 5 is to think ahead. People. I do this when I see something repetitively not work and people just continue on to argue with me about it. So whenever you hear me say that, that's really what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, how many times have I heard this and it doesn't work and someone continues to argue with me? You have to think ahead. Now, what do I mean by that? When I say think ahead, a lot of times people have a tendency to emulate something that worked for somebody else. I want to be the next, Jeff from Amazon. I want to be like this guy. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, yeah, but there's a pale image of that already floating around. There's an Amazon, which means he lived his dream to the point where it made him money. And then there's somebody that does something similar, maybe a local person, that doesn't profit off of that. And it starts with you realizing you have to go down the line. And it'll go together with another one that I'm going to list on this list. But right now, you need to just understand, you need to be thinking ahead. Stop trying to emulate the flavor of the day. And it works like this. And I always use rappers as an example because they're good examples to use. Before NWA changed the direction, what was every rap song sounding like, right? Everybody was emulating everybody, right? Everybody sounded like, Rapper's Delight, right? Because that was popular. Like it was one of the first really popular rap songs that went mainstream. Everybody emulated it. But how many people outside of that do you remember? Outside of Rapper's Delight? How many of those songs you have to go, oh, that's right, I remember. But you say Rapper's Delight, even people that don't like rap music remember Rapper's Delight. Okay? They may not know the name of it even. But if you just sing a little bit of the song, they go, oh, yeah, isn't that one of the first raps? It's really old. Okay, so in order for you to live your dream, you have to understand that it has to be yours, not an emulation of someone else's because it worked for them. So that's called thinking ahead. It means you have to have some foresight, right? Right? There was a MySpace before there was a Facebook, right? Remember MySpace? Some of you are like, no. Some of you are like, oh my God, yeah, I had a MySpace page. There was a MySpace before there was a Facebook. This will apply again later, okay? But right now, think ahead. Make sure you're thinking ahead because that's going to be a determining factor in whether or not you make money at what you're doing, right? So that's number 5. Number 4 is build your own network. People. How many people are trying to knock down someone else's door that has already been successful? I'm not saying that these things don't work. I'm not saying that they're not going to answer that call. I'm not even saying that that's not a good thing to do at some point. But I am saying when you're looking to be a little more innovative, if you want to be the best at what you're doing, you have to find the best team. And a lot of times these are people that are just really good at what they do. They haven't been discovered yet, right? But they're really good at what they do. You have to find somebody not based on the hype or what they say they're good at, but literally someone that you can just tell right away is just talented and just very good at what they're doing. If you pick up and comers, okay, they have a tendency to grow with you. And you sort of develop a great family almost, or a great friendship where you guys help each other through the times that are going to be rocky because they do come. They come with any type of business, whether it's a dream or it's just you running in a regular company. If you want to live your dream, eventually you have to think of it in a business sense. Now you're like, well, why would I do that? And I use acting as an example a lot too because I come from entertainment. But how many actors, after they get to a certain level, suddenly they quit, they freak out, they have negotiating and contract problems. It's because the business side eventually enters. And if you're just a creative person and you just want to do your art creatively, that's a great hobby. And it's a great nonprofit and you may even make some money. But if you really want to take that talent and serve your community or the world with that, you're going to hit a business part of it. It has to happen. I don't care if it's a church. Many people are like, oh, the mega churches, oh my God, they do. Because eventually they hit business and they recognize that this has to grow, right, in order to serve more people. Now, not every person in a mega church has good intentions. I'm not saying that. But I am saying those with good intentions. And maybe your local church has a tendency to run into it being a business at some point, or it being ran as a business. So that requires you having the ability to pick a strong team. And I always recommend when it's a dream, it's good to have a team that has a passion for what you're doing. Right? And to give somebody an opportunity that maybe didn't know they needed it or wanted it, right? Somebody that's just good, right? So think ahead and then build your own network. Don't try to be a part of somebody else. Now, you notice these first two have to do with emulation. If you watch all of these videos, you will see that that's a theme with me. Do not try to be financially strong by emulating. It is a mindset. And that mindset, what it does is it puts a limit on you. Now you're just capping yourself for no reason, when maybe you have the strength or the talent to do more, right? So don't emulate. And you never know the motivation behind someone else's intent with their dream, if that makes sense. Okay, so we are talking about number 3. We've got 4, 5, and now we're on 3. Okay, this is something. I'll get in trouble for this one. It's a little bit of an out-of-the-box thinking, but it is the truth, okay? The truth only comes one way, right? Satisfy a need rather than a talent, right? This goes down to capability, right? People. I don't know who tells us these things, but we just randomly follow them. Somebody told us that talent is the end all and be all of success. And that isn't necessarily true, right? Not when we're talking finances, right? We're talking about you have to be satisfying a need. You can be as talented as you know how to be. But if there's not a need for that, you will take the time it's going to take to have that become a need before you become successful. Okay? Does that make sense? You're like, what are you telling me? I'm telling you this. If you want to be a ballet dancer, just random example. I like ballet. I used to ballet dance. And you're a 5'3", 5'4", 200 and some odd pounds. Is there a need for that in ballet? If you look at the average role that's filled for those dancers, I'll let you think about it. And for those of you that don't watch ballet at all, no, there isn't. And this is not to say that need won't eventually happen. But you have to, that's how you measure time, right? There's no need, then you're going to have to wait it out until there is a need for that, right? But generally speaking, for ballerinas, over the years and years and years, you're taller, thinner, right? Sometimes super thin. Okay? I could not be a professional ballet dancer. Okay? There's a lot going on at the top part, a little more curvy, but I was tall and thin. Taller and thin, right? So that made me until I developed, right? That worked until I got older. And then suddenly I started to develop, and there was not a need for that anymore, so it became harder, right? But I'm capable, right? So I could have continued on unrealistically thinking financially this was going to eventually pay off. Now, this was years ago. Now you look at it now, ballet dancing. It's the same time. I don't know any busty, ballet dancers. There's not one that I can think of off the top of my head, and that's part of it. It's the look that goes with that, right? It's my long way of saying, is there a need, right? You go, oh, well, Samuel Jackson, took 10 years to become an actor. Yeah, he took 10 years to get discovered. And he got discovered when there was a need for him, right? For his type. And you have to be serious. And I'm talking so seriously. Everyone's like, oh my God, you're not normally this serious. But I have to be serious when it comes to stuff like this, because these are the questions I get. These are the difficult times when I'm with someone, a client or something, and they may be like just really arguing with me. Like they're going to bat for this financial money that they're trying to, spend. And I'm trying to help them. I'm like, no, and I'm trying to help you. This is why I do all of this. It's really to help. It is, having seen these problems over and over again, that there's so many people struggling to do something and they don't check if there's a need for it. Or they give up. Let's say you are talented and right now there's no need, but you can look ahead, because what is number 5, right? Think ahead, right? So you're looking down the line and you see there's not a need right now, but I can kind of see it rising a little bit. So it's going to be maybe about 2 or 3 years. You can kind of gauge your time frame for this dream to become financially profitable for you if that's what you're looking for. You see? So that's why I'm serious. That's why I'm saying this is like, you've got to make it real, right? This is my job here. It's to tell you not to crush your dreams. You're like, oh, you're crushing my dream. No, I'm not crushing them. I'm just making them pay off for you, right? Like I said, if you just want to do something for the joy of it, I still do ballet. It is wonderful. Keeps me in shape. I feel great doing it. But, was I realistic about my capabilities? I'm capable, but there was no need, right? It's just the truth. And I was okay with that. I wasn't like crying at night. It's like, it was okay that was, so that's number 3. Now, number 2, I've mentioned before. This is another one that people will just, I have to argue for hours and hours about this particular one. There was a girl that asked a question, or a person that asked a question in one of the last videos, and she said, I've been struggling, to be an actress, and I told her to check your proficiency level. And everyone was like, I got like comments like, oh, you're just killing that woman's dream. You just told her that she wasn't good. I didn't say she wasn't good. I did not say that because I don't know. I didn't know her. I was only reading her question. I said based on the way she phrased the question, which is generally a clue as to where you're at mentally, that she needed to check her proficiency level. But I didn't explain what I meant by that. And what I mean by that is just that. Sometimes you have to be realistic about what you're offering to that particular thing. So just using acting as an obvious example. So people say, oh, it took Samuel L. Jackson 10 years, to become a famous actor. And he was in his 40s. And, you use that as a gauging tool. And I'm like, but can you do Samuel L. Jackson's roles? And this is not based on what you're thinking. Or your mom. She's going to always say you're talented, right? You're her child, right? You're going to always say you're talented. You believe in yourself, right? Or you'll be thinking you are. But I quote the Wizard of Oz when I say check proficiency level. The original one, there's several versions, but the one with Judy Garland, at the end, he says to the Tin Man, he said, remember my friend, a heart is not judged by how much you love, but how you are loved by others, how much you are loved by others. And I say that because have you checked, like if someone came to you, multiple people, and they said, gosh, I am surprised you are not an actress. Like you are that good. Like I've seen you, using one of my children as the example, my son, people would just walk up to, we didn't even have him in basketball at the time. And people would just walk up to him and he would end up being, 6'4" and just built for basketball. And they would say, you should put him in basketball, like constantly. And therefore we did, right? But we didn't say, you need to be in basketball. This is what you're going to do. It's going to happen. There was no need to push because what his talent and gift was rose on its own, right? It's the same thing. If you're constantly, let's say you are talented. Let's look at it a different way. Let's say you are talented. Let's say people say you should be an actress, but you can't cold read. This is part of proficiency, right? Because you can't get a role if you can't cold read. If you're not a strong reader, you cannot be a broadcaster, right? You have to be able to absorb content, right? You have to be able to write it. There's other elements to the job other than just sitting in front of the camera and being like, oh, okay, here. Can you put stories together? Do you do research well? It's the same thing. If you're an actor, can you cold read? Can you do improv? There's a lot of other elements. So when I say proficiency, I don't just mean talent in that one specific part, which many people make the mistake of thinking, right? People will change their entire life to become an actor, and they will be struggling. Most actors, here's a side note, are broke. They're broke. They don't have all of the elements put together to become a paid actor. Not paid, but living their dream, right? Meaning financially profitable, right? That takes different levels of skill than it is going to take for you just to be talented, right? Because at that point, everybody's talented, right? Don't send me hate mail. You guys, because I'm talking about dreams. I hear you guys out there like, what are you telling me? Now, it was one thing when you were talking about my bank account, but now I'm not killing dreams here. I am actually making them better. You can be mad at me, but just make sure you pay attention to what I'm saying and watch this video a couple of times, okay? So number one, people. So someone comes to me and they say, listen, Alex, I watched your video, okay? I am thinking ahead. I have built a team. I got a bunch of up and comers, super talented. I am satisfying need that's, I know that that's happening. And I am proficient. I'm telling you right now, I didn't pick this dream. Everybody told me that I should be doing this. And yet, I still don't make any money at it. I still have to work 2 jobs. I still aren't making a living at it. I'm not getting people, what am I doing wrong? Am I not marketing? And they go to me and they ask me this question, and I tell them the same thing. This number one thing. You can have all of that and not have number one, and it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. And that's just the way that it is. Because, and I'm going to use film as an example, right? Or a television show, right? You ever been looking forward to something? Like, oh, I can't wait to see, blah, blah, blah movie. And you're all excited and you're like, oh my God, you know what it's about? And you're telling everybody the storyline and you buy your little ticket or you download it on Netflix or whatever you do and you watch it. Nope. You're like completely disappointed. You're like, oh my God, like what happened? I'll tell you what happened. Execution. You have to know how to execute your dream, right? This is the difference between MySpace and Facebook, right? This is the difference between Amazon and every other, delivery place that delivers quickly. I mean, whatever. This is the difference between a blockbuster and a regular movie, right? This is the difference between a principal dancer and a dancer that's in, just in the trying to think of the word, but that's just a regular dancer, right? And that's definitely the difference between somebody struggling, right? Execution. When you get to the level where you have built up everything, right? And you've got it all set up and you're ready to go. The difference between the ones that make the money and the ones that do okay and the ones that do nothing is how you execute. There is no originals, right? There are no original ideas, really. I mean, there's original executions of an idea, but I guarantee you there's somebody sitting there that's looking at Amazon going, man, I had that. That's so simple. Like, I thought of that 1,000 times. Yeah, you thought of it, and some people were like, oh my God, I'm like that, but not on that level. It's because, bam, execution. Execution. I cannot tell you enough execution. That is number one for a reason. Because you can do all this other stuff. I cannot say this enough, and it not matter if you don't execute well. Right? I don't care. It's like a recipe, right? You've got a great recipe. But if you miss some of those elements in there and something happens and the finished product doesn't quite taste like it needs to taste, sometimes you can add some stuff and it'll taste better, right? You have a recipe and you're like, if I had a little lemon juice in here, this is gonna, yeah, okay, that's fine. That's part of execution. That's part of the brilliance of somebody that's super talented, right? Because they're able to add that extra flavor, right? That little bit of lemon juice in there that wasn't in the original recipe, right? Not only did they execute it well, but they added some extra. That's why I said check your proficiency. Because if it's just lackluster, your team's okay, you haven't really thought too much ahead, you're just trying to make money. That's another thing for someone's just desperate to make money and they're calling it a dream. That's not a dream. And it's definitely not going to help you live your dream. Because at that point, you're just emulating people with money. Or that you think have money, right? At that point, you're just doing emulations. And emulations do not equate to financial success. I'm going to let you sit with that because it's the truth. I promise you.
Attention, please. Attention. Could Katie Ross call the youth department, please? Katie
So
Ross, call the youth department. Thank you.
we will make sure we understand that, right? Because that is rich dream or a poor dream, right? Poor people will borrow a bunch of money. Poor mindsets, right? We've been talking about the mindset. This is all goes to mindset, right? This is before you do a thing. This all goes to mindset. So when we have these thought processes and you put them together, you have to be able to execute. Then you have a dream, right? Then you are living your dream, quote unquote, the way that you're thinking, right? You're doing what you love. It pays not just your bills, it pays your bills and your family's bills. And every day you set your own time and you're free, right? That's what you're looking for. You're not just looking to just do something you love, because that's not enough. You'll still have to work if you do it that way, right? Or if you don't think it's a process. A lot of people think I just have a dream and therefore, right? Now that you think about it, now think of this. Put this in perspective. Write these down because I want you to keep looking at them so you can see how they all fit, right? It's part of the recipe, right? I gave you a recipe for success, but you're missing any of these elements. It's not going to work, right? I gave you a recipe for finance, right? Not success, because some people do what they love and don't get paid a dime. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. But this is finances, right? So I have to apply it to finances, and finances have a tendency to have a process, right? As you are learning, as you watch these videos, right? All right, so I have some questions. Okay, let's start with them. Let's start with this one because I was just talking about this. I have been following my dream to be an actor. I am talented, but still have not made it a financial success. You're saying you're talented, right? I guess my first question for your question is, how do you know, right? Look at this process. If you're talented, did you think ahead? Do you have a strong support system, strong team, right? Do you have good proficiency, and what is your execution? Go back to my example. Can you cold read? Do you know the business part? Do you understand how making a film works? Do you understand what the director needs out of you before you get in there and start acting, right? It's all of these things, right? So if it's not paying off for you financially, one of these is missing, right? If not a couple of them. And I almost guarantee by the way that you phrased the question, because it sounds like you've just been doing it because you think you're talented or therefore you are talented. But now understanding, having watched this video, that that's not enough, I want you to look at all the elements. What does your execution look like? Right? How's that translating, right? What do you physically like? Because it's a physical job, right? Do you physically fit the role, or do you just go out for roles because you think you're good, right? I had a great example for this. There was there was a play back in the day based on a movie that Reese Witherspoon was in, and it was about Legally Blonde was the name of it. And the girl that went out for this part was going up against another girl that looked almost identical to Reese Witherspoon, and she didn't look any. I mean, she had brown hair. I mean, nothing about this girl looked like the vision of the character. And it didn't make sense when she didn't understand why she didn't get the part, because it was really something she shouldn't have gone out for in the first place. I'm not saying she wasn't talented, she was. But she didn't fit. There was no need, right? There was no need. So, to answer your question, look at that top 5 and be honest and see what is actually missing in there, because it could just be very simply that there's no need for that, right? There's no need for whatever you're doing. Okay. Let's see. Business loans and credit card debt. You said there is a good debt. What did you mean by that? Oh, are you asking, is it that? Yeah, good debt is if you're starting a business and you get a loan or you use your credit card for that business. So it's not necessarily business necessarily. It's anything that you're borrowing money to make you money, right? If you're borrowing money from a friend, like because you can't pay your bills, that's not good debt. That's bad debt, right? Or if you're using your credit card because you're buying food and gas and you're trying to, impress people, that's not good debt. But if you're going to make a business and you need to buy time because maybe the money is not going to come back to you right away, so you have to borrow money. Most people that start a business, even if you have good resources and finances, don't use your own money. Most of the time, you don't. It's just not, I would say, reasonable. You can do it. Not to say that can't be done, but more than likely, no. Not even studios for films use their, know what's going into their personal bank account, like making film that way. So, like I said, this is not to say that it can't be done. This is just me talking. But most of the time you would borrow the money, and it's because it's going to make you more money. So good debt is some debt that you're going into temporarily for something that's going to make you money, right? That's the only time it's worth it. Otherwise, do not borrow money. I don't care if it's from your parents. Don't borrow it if you can't pay it back. Okay. Let's see. You mentioned. Oh, because is it possible to follow your dream and not make a dime? Yes, I did answer that earlier. And I would recommend opening a nonprofit because if you plan on you're not interested in the money whatsoever, you just want to help people, then you can just do it for free, but you can help more people. I think a dream, if it's not a selfish one, really is to put it on a level that can help the most people. That's just my opinion, right? Okay, I could be wrong. Some people are like, what are you talking about? But that's just my thought about it. You're giving a gift in exchange for helping more people. So that's how I look at it. So, okay. Apparently I have some college students. Somebody said, does college have a point? Well, if you looked at my last video, I did tell you that one of the benefits from college is, especially for people that are financially poor or just from a poor family or family with a poor mindset, is it gets you away from that. Rather than, if I have traveled around the world, other than where I grew up, I'm probably going to have a greater expansion and a better gauging tool on life's problems and ambitions and finances than I am for somebody that's just, stayed in the same town they grew up in. So it's really a good benefit. Plus, education it's education. And you need to learn as much as you can because, I talk about this in another video, so I won't detail it too much, but just since you're asking the question, I'm feeling like you're a younger person. You won't keep the same friends all the time. A word of caution for all of you that are going from being poor of mindset into financial freedom in mindset, into rich in mindset, into inevitably wealthy in mindset. You will not keep the same people around you, and some of them will be your family members. And it is because they're not going to see your vision. Not bad people, don't mean anything by it. And some of them will just get rid of you because they're going to be like, I used to like this person a lot, but I just don't like them anymore. So I was talking about finances and money, it's just part of it. I used weight loss as one of the examples, and it was one of the things that was just true about that some people were just like, when you start, all your friends are fat and you're fat too, and then all of a sudden you lose weight, and some people will be happy at the beginning when you've lost like 5 or 6 pounds, and it's a little bit of difference, but nothing major. But after you lose 30, 40 pounds, or you get your goal weight and they're still the same, it's going to be hard to still be your friend for a lot of reasons, because now you can do things that they can't do, number one. It's the same thing financially, right? Now, financially, maybe you all started out broke, or you started out financially free, but you lived your dream, you watched these videos, you get, you started educating yourself, and it built into, if you're a broadcaster and you end up being Oprah, I'm sure she doesn't have a lot of the same friends, right? Because it changes, right? Some people can't bring themselves to be your friend because it reminds you remind them every second of what they're not doing. and they've convinced themselves they're not capable, right? So, just for the college people. So yes, college does have a point. It expands you, it educates you, and it also takes you physically out of the area that you grew up in. And one more. Let's do one more. Somebody said, how do I make money if I have no time? People. I have discussed this before. Allow me to lay it out to you again. Time management is in one of the videos. Okay, go back and watch the videos. It says it in there. And it is in there for a reason. First of all, we all have 24 hours in a day. There are no more nor less than 24 hours in every single person's day, right? So if you say you have no time, you're probably not managing it well. It is an impossibility. People that manage their time well have time for all the things that they need. Now, maybe not every second, right? Maybe in that time slot you have something else. Maybe I'm doing this video right now, so I can't go, hang out with my friends. But I make time for that, right? So I don't believe in, I don't have time. Most of those people are procrastinators. If you're not a procrastinator, you're just not good at time managing. There's no way you should be busy constantly, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You just don't have time to do anything. So I would really question, it goes back to you and your mindset and whether or not you're managing your time well. Gauging by the way that you phrase the question that you don't. So the reality is that you're not making it a priority. You want to live your dream, but there's something blocking you or you don't think it's a priority. That's the answer. That's my opinion. I don't know you. I'm only going based on the question you asked me. So thank you guys. This is pretty much where we're going in this direction. Live your dream. Make it mean something different for you. Make it mean I am going to make it financially profitable for me. Because you can do both. You don't have to sacrifice, right? For all you Christians out there, you're going to be like, oh, but Jesus lived a simple life. First of all, Jesus was not poor. They gave him frankincense and myrrh, which if you look at the history, is like giving somebody $1 million, okay? So, now he did not abuse his wealth, but I speak to Christians too, and not everybody that watches this is Christian, but I try not to miss those because I get those questions as well when people ask me like biblical questions. Probably derived from one of my other videos where I talk about some of the things that people thought were biblical that weren't. So. Okay, so thank you for watching. I do appreciate you guys. As always, send me questions. I do love answering them. Please apply. I hope I give this information to you in a way where you can apply it. Watch the videos repetitively, like, subscribe, and comment. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you guys next time. Oh, and I forgot to talk about my new setting. See this, my little background? Trying to mix it up for you guys. All right, thank you guys. Have a good one.